Welcome to the 5% Club podcast, the space where ambitious leaders go to master their careers and their lives. I'm ShaylaMKing, a former C-suite executive turned performance and happiness coach. And this is the podcast for leaders who want it all. The promotions, the paychecks, and luxurious amounts of time for what matters most. Each week, I'll teach you how to work less, make more, and design a life you love. Let's go. If you think being great at your job is enough to get you promoted or fulfilled, you're missing the most powerful lever for both success and happiness: relationships. Welcome back to the 5% Club podcast. I'm ShaylaMKing, your favorite relationships coach. And in today's podcast, we're going to discuss the missing element for most high performers who aren't getting the promotion. This episode is Mastering Relationships: Why Executive Success Isn't a Solo Sport. I've coached brilliant leaders who had strong results and were still stuck. Why? Because no one was advocating for them. No one thought of them for stretch opportunities. They weren't top of mind when the next big thing came along. Executives don't rise alone. They're backed by relationships that are strategic, that are supportive, that are personal. These relationships open doors, they calm the storms, and they make work feel energizing instead of draining. Today, I'm walking you through the second pillar of the PH formula: relationships. And just like last time, you're getting special access to a tool I normally only use with my one-on-one clients. It's the Evolve Performance and Happiness Assessment. You can pinpoint exactly where your relationship strategy needs work. Let's go. The 3 relationship skills that open up opportunities and fulfillment. My 5% Club executives don't just build networks, they build leverage. I talk about this as there are ways that we can have FU money. This is FU relationships. This gives you the freedom of saying, if something doesn't work out in my career, I call it bulletproofing your career. If something doesn't work out at my role, at my company, with my boss, I can either have FU money, which means I don't actually need to work and I'm fine, or I can have an FU network. And this relationships and this network means that there are enough people who know who I am, who know what I'm capable of, who have great relationships with, that I can land on my feet in no time, right? You got to have one or the other. And I teach all of my clients to bulletproof their career by having this FU network. All right. We don't want to leave, but in case something happens, and you guys have seen it all over the news right now, so many layoffs, so many unexpected turns in people's companies, careers, entire organizations shutting down, right? You are going to expect that to happen, and you're going to prepare accordingly, because it is very rare for someone to go through their entire career without getting laid off. I have been laid off before. I've had more than one. I've had 3 different companies that I worked for go bankrupt. 3. One of them was a Fortune 50. These aren't even just like the small guys, right? It is risky to work in corporate. Everyone thinks entrepreneurship is risky, but they both are. And we're going to slow down, be intentional, and not only master our career at our current company, but we're going to master the relationships, internal and external, so that you can have FU networking, that you can always protect your earning ability, so that you can be able to have that security and safety, knowing if something does happen, you can land on your feet quickly because you didn't wait until the day that they walked in and said, "I'm sorry, but today's your last day," to start building a network, to start talking to people outside of your company. We do it proactively. We bulletproof your network, and that's what I help you with. All right, let's jump in. My 5% Club executives don't just build networks, they build leverage. They invest in their professional and personal relationships, and it changes everything. You can't get promoted if no one knows who you are. The first of the 3 steps that I go through in relationships is executive networking. Most people think if I do great work, people will notice. But my 5% executives know if I want opportunities, I need to be on the top of their mind before the opportunities even exist. Have you ever been passed over for a promotion because leadership went a different direction, and that direction was someone who wasn't even on your radar? It could be some guy from a different department, or it could be somebody that was already in your group but hadn't had that kind of role before. It's not random, it's relationships. And we have to get intentional about who needs to know you and how to build those connections. You have to stop waiting for visibility and you have to start engineering it and build relationships both inside and outside of your company that support your goals. It's not about schmoozing. It's not about pretending to like people. This is about building respect, building credibility, and strategic positioning. Doesn't matter how good you are if no one knows who you are. Right. So for our first section, I want you to do the assessment. Rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10. I intentionally build and strengthen relationships both inside and outside my organization to enhance my influence, career opportunities, and leadership presence. What would you give yourself between a 1 and a 10? And if you rated yourself low, you might be operating in isolation, hoping someone notices instead of strategically building influence. How much time are you actually spending proactively and intentionally building that network? One of my clients was a top performer, but every big opportunity was going to someone else. She wasn't in the right conversations and no one really knew what she wanted. Once we mapped out her internal network and I taught her how to nurture key relationships, she became the obvious choice for the next big leadership role. She didn't change her performance at all. She changed her visibility and everything else changed with it. I talk to a lot of my clients about knowing and declaring what you want. And that's part of the process we go through as well, that you can tell other leaders and inform them what you want so that they can help you. You have to know what you want. You have to talk to people about it because I've been in all the back rooms, you guys. I've been there when we say, David's taking another role. And before anything is posted, we say, who should take David's role? Well, I know Chris was looking for an operations role. We should probably move him into the role. Oh, yeah, but HR, we got to go through that process. We're still going to have to post the role. We're still going to have to interview. But yeah, I think Chris is probably the best fit. That's the conversation that happens. And then Julie reads the post when it's made and goes, oh my God, that's my dream job. I'm fully qualified. Or she may doubt herself and not know she's fully qualified, but she is, right? And she goes, I'm going to put my name in the hat. I'm going to do the big scary thing. I'm going to do it. And she preps much for the interviews and she does a fantastic job in the interview. You know what happens? She doesn't get it. They give her great feedback. They say, maybe in the future, it was nice getting to know you. I didn't even know you existed at our company. I didn't even know what your capability was or what you had to offer. And now I do. And that's great. But this time we're going to go with Chris. Chris already had the relationship. Chris had already built know, like, and trust. When they're having to bet on somebody that they met for an hour in an interview or somebody that they've known for months or years, they're going to feel like it's more of a sure thing to go with a performer that they know personally, that they know each other's styles, they know how they work together, and that they feel like they can trust to get a good job done. Or they could take a bet on the 45-minute interview of a stranger that they'd never met before, but someone said good things about, someone else that they probably don't know that well. Do you see what an uphill battle it is to climb if you're Julie? You have to get to know people well ahead of when you want the role, well ahead of when you have that opportunity. The other advice I'll give Julie is remember, you may not have gotten that job, but now you've gained visibility. That interview has so much more value to you than just that job or not. Now, additional leaders at your company have gotten to see more from you. They saw your capability, they saw your credibility, they have a respect for you, and now they know what you want. That's great, right? Don't always think of it as a loss if you don't get the job. You now have more visibility. But it's going to be really hard to get the job if you don't have that historical relationship with the decision makers. Make sense? All right. So when we talk about relationships, there are 3 areas. And the first one that we just went through is on executive networking. You rated yourself 1 through 10 on how good you are at that. And now I'm going to take you through the second area. After we go through executive networking, we're then going to review and rate ourselves on executive communication. It's not just what you say, it's how you say it. Most people think, I just have to give the data. I just have to explain why we're doing something and people will listen. But the 5% executives know if I want to lead, I need to communicate with confidence, clarity, and command. Less words, more impact. Have you ever said something in a meeting that no one acknowledged, only to hear someone else say it later and get credit? There's a term for this if you haven't heard it before, man-peating. It's like repeating it, but when a man says it, then it's listened to. And some of this is definitely gender bias, right? But some of it is how you show up and what you say. And so another thing I work with my clients on is, what do you do, whether you're a man or a woman? And when you talk in meetings, you frequently get interrupted. How do you address that situation? And so I work with clients on that and how to really command the room when it's their turn to talk. And not like, how can I take so much control that I can talk uninterrupted? Calm down. No. You're going to speak when it makes sense, but it's going to be conversational. The point of you talking is to help the business make a better decision. And so making sure that you're not centering yourself. It's not all about you and your ego. You're not trying to prove yourself, but instead, you know how to say what needs to be said, when it needs to be said, how it needs to be said, which is usually less words, more impact, right? When I teach executive communication, I help you speak powerfully in rooms that matter, even when you're nervous, to articulate complex thoughts concisely, to know when to speak and when to listen, and how to command presence without over-explaining. One of the cues I have clients look for is if you hear yourself saying, again, da 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 da, that's a problem. Either one, people aren't listening the first time, you're not clear the first time, or you just like to reiterate yourself to make the point. And when you do that, it's annoying to the listener because we're like, we freaking got it. Are you going to stop talking so other people can jump in? Or it feels like you think that they're not paying attention, that they're slow, that they're rude, something's way off with the dynamics if you have to keep saying again and then make your point again. This also happens when people ask a question and they're like, what's the third bar mean on the chart? What's the third bar mean? What's the third bar? Because I was thinking it was this, but it might be this. What I really want to know is just if it's this, then da-da-da, but could it be this, or what's the third bar? All you need to ask, right? What does the customer want? Now, have we gone and seen, and who have we talked to at the customer? Because I was wondering what are they truly like trying to get for? Because if they care more about price, then we can have some options with price. But if they care more about delivery, then maybe we have some options there. What does the customer want? You see what I mean? A lot of times these questions are asked and then they try to answer and they try to explain why they're asking. Just ask the damn question as short and concise as you can and let other people answer. And if you're trying to make a point instead of ask a question, then do that. But don't try to ask a question as if you care what the audience says, but really you just want to add in your point. It takes away from your power. It's annoying to the audience. Just ask simple questions. All right. But this is how you can go from being viewed as even smart and helpful to being viewed as a leader, is when you master this executive communication. Assessment time. Rate yourself on a scale from 1 to 10. I am confident speaking in any setting, articulating my thoughts concisely and effectively, while also knowing when to listen. I also like to describe it as I can talk to anyone at any time, anywhere. Rate yourself on there from 1 to 10. 1 being I can barely get a word out or I can't stop talking, or 10 being nailed it. Everyone compliments me on my executive communication. If you rated yourself low, you might be undervaluing your voice or letting perfectionism, overthinking, or proving water down your message. I'll give you a client example. A client of mine would over prepare for every meeting, but then freeze when it was time to speak. She was worried about saying the perfect things. She stayed quiet or rambled. Once we worked on our executive communication, she became more concise because we broke it down to what truly matters and reminding yourself of what the executive team already knows. There's lots of tips and tricks that we'll go through with executive communication. But for instance, a rookie move, minor league move, is to do a flip chart, go through every damn page in the deck that you created ahead of time. That also rookie move that you sent the morning of or never gave to people, and you're showing it to them live, right? It should go out 2 to 3 days in advance. And when you open the conversation, you're going to say, here is my goal for today's conversation, what I want to leave with. What do you want to leave with? And you're going to ask the audience to make sure you're all aligned on the purpose of the meeting. And then you're going to say, where would you like to start, to whoever the senior decision maker is? And they will either tell you, can you take me through a quick page flip because I haven't had time to read it? Or they will say, I have questions on page 6. And you go to page 6 and you answer their questions. And it keeps it from wasting everyone's time. Every culture is kind of different on how prepared people are and aren't for meetings. But giving that choice to the senior decision maker in the room will save so much time and let you get to the root of what information they actually need to help you make a decision. And when you understand what that person already knows, what questions they might have with them, what's in it for me, what concerns they might have, and you think about that before you present, then when you get up there to speak, you don't have to give all the context and background in the world. You have to just think about what's the next thing that they probably want more information on. And you can boil it down to the critical few things that really matter. My client ended up becoming more concise, more direct, and more powerful. Her ideas didn't change, but how she delivered them did. And leadership finally started listening. I got so much feedback from her CEO about how much had changed. One of the complaints that he had when we first started was that he said she would always say one quick thing and it would never be quick. And now, whether she was talking to him or a board member, it was quick, it was precise. And they were like, damn, she knows how to run her business. And I feel very confident in her. That's what can really change when you master executive communication, which is the second of the 3 areas of relationships. All right, we're rounding third. Here we go. The third area is personal relationships, your life outside of work that affects your leadership. A lot of it for me, I'm the performance and happiness coach. We're going through my performance and happiness formula. It's never going to be just about work. And what happens with high performing executives is that they often neglect their personal relationships, or they feel like it's really hard to be in the moment with their family and their friends because they're constantly thinking about their to-do list, what else needs done, major work assignments, or something that went wrong at work, right? And I always include personal relationships in my coaching because I want you to love your whole damn life. And when we're that busy, it can be hard to really spend time on deciding what you want out of your relationships. And sometimes we need help with setting boundaries in those relationships as well and getting out of guilt and instead designing it the way you want. So let's go through personal relationships. A lot of people are thinking, I just need to get through the workday and deal with the rest later. But executives know how I show up at home affects how I show up at work and vice versa. You can't spend all of your energy at home and come home depleted and expect to have a good personal life. And so we go through that as well. You're going to see next week in rituals how we give you the energy for your family. But in relationships, we're designing exactly what good looks like for those relationships. So this one gets overlooked all the time. You can be crushing it at work, but if your relationships at home are suffering, your performance and happiness will eventually take a hit. When I coach on personal relationships, I help you set boundaries that protect your energy and presence, be fully off when you're off. So you're not always half working and half parenting, and strengthen your connection with your partner, with your friends, or your kids. So you have a strong personal foundation to support your happiness. Because if the people you love are just getting your leftovers, something has to change. All right, it's assessment time. Rate yourself on a scale from 1 to 10. Here is the statement. I am fully present with my family and friends, fostering deep connections and bringing positive energy to my personal life. 1 means I'm never present. I'm always thinking about other stuff. And 10 means I love all of my relationships. They have perfect boundaries, and I always feel like I can leave work at work. I'm full of energy, right? All right. So after you rate yourself, if you rated yourself low, you're probably always on, mentally distracted, or giving people around you your leftover energy. I had another client who said, my kids only get tired, stressed out me. And I felt that way for the longest time, right? I would push so much into my day. I used to call myself the high performing hot mess mom, right? And I was very optimistic about what could fit in my day. And so it would be back to back to back to back. And like my day would only work if everything went perfect. meaning like I hit every green light. No one ever needed anything from me. I never had to eat or go to the bathroom. And if all of those things came true, then my day would work. But if one of those things didn't, then there is extra stress and extra pressure. And even when things are working, it still kind of like lives in my upper belly. And I just feel the tension all the time that like, oh God, I got to be leaving this because if I don't leave on time, I'm not going to get to the next thing. And it keeps you from being in the moment. Right. And so I struggled with that for a long time. And I had to realize that when I have too much in my schedule, I become mean mom. Like short with my kids. I'm frustrated. My brain is on my to-do list instead of on them. But when I was able to set boundaries, and I joke, I don't mom after 9. Like, we're not solving world problems after 9. I have one kid that is like a super night owl, and she has been since she was born. And she will tell me too, like, she wants to like nap in the afternoon and then be up all night. And she's like, but I just turn on after 9 and you're done momming at 9. So it's kind of a problem. I'm like, yeah. But I was able to say, I'm not having big, deep discussions after 9 o'clock. I'm not signing school papers after 9 o'clock. I'm not doing any shopping on Amazon for things that you need for a project after 9 o'clock, like off. And so setting boundaries like that, and then really redesigning my entire schedule to where if something adds stress, I just don't do it. Right. And so I have luxurious amounts of time for the things that matter most. And when I was able to fix that, even, I mean, I don't know if I told the story in the podcast before, but it's the silliest thing. There's 2 ways to get out of my neighborhood. One side has a light, one side doesn't have a light. It's a busy highway in front of my neighborhood. And it has a hill, and so it's kind of dangerous, and it's hard to take a left in traffic. And so if I go that direction to take my daughter to dance where there's no light and there's the high traffic, I'm stressed out, I'm pissed off, and I'm being rude to her. She'll have the like mirror down. I'm like, I can't see, close the mirror. Like, dangerous. And then she's like, geez. And then she gets mad at me. And then the whole ride to a dance, we don't even talk. What to do differently is take the other exit, y'all. The other exit has a light. It's not stressful. I can find out everything that's going on at school and what's going on with her friends, and we can have a great conversation. If I just take the easier route. Now, granted, it might take a whole extra 90 seconds to get there. But then we enjoy the ride. So some of it is around making those intentional decisions as well, so that you can bring the best version of you. And I had to really learn that over busy me is mean me. And I don't want that for everyone in my life. And so I had to change my behavior so that I could show up with a cup with room in it instead of an overfilling cup. All right. So I'll give you the example about my client now. So she said, my kids only get tired, stressed out me. And she was checking every box at work, but felt disconnected at home. So we created new rituals for reentry after work because there's some transition things we can do that are pretty cool. Set better boundaries around email and made space for her to enjoy her personal life. A few months in, she said, I finally feel like a whole person again, not just an executive. And surprised, she actually became more effective at work because she wasn't running on fumes. In the performance and happiness framework, you've got results, relationships, and rituals. Today, we covered relationships. And under relationships, there's 3 tiers. The first is executive networking. The second is executive communication. And the third is personal relationships. So you went through and you assessed yourself on each of those areas. And so now you're able to really see which of those 3 are the one that would make the biggest difference for you if you made some improvement in. And so when I work with my clients, we focus on one relationship area at a time because that's how you create sustainable change and actual fulfillment. So for your Evolve work for the week, out of those 3 areas, I want you to decide which one you want to focus on first. Executive networking, building strategic relationships that open doors. Executive communication, speaking with clarity, confidence, and presence. Or personal relationships, showing up fully and intentionally with the people who matter most. So choose your category. And then what is the one thing you can do this week to work on it? Just choose one thing. Even just noticing how you're currently showing up is a powerful first step. Coaching, we always start with awareness because when we are aware of what's currently happening, we can make decisions to change what we want to change. So if you want to thrive at the top, you can't do it alone. You need people. You need the image. You need the visibility. You need the connections. You need the doors being opened. And those right relationships can change everything. Quick reminder, my one-on-one coaching is currently full, but my exclusive group programs are opening in just a few weeks. So if you are ready to master the mindset of a high-performing, happy executive, get on the wait list now. The link will be in the show notes, or you can go to ShaylaKing.com, ShaylaKing.com, and get on our wait list now so you can be the first to know. I'm sure, just like my one-on-one, it will sell out as soon as we announce the spots are open. So get there now. And in the meantime, you're going to get a free tip every single week of something you can do within the performance and happiness formula to implement and increase your performance and happiness immediately. See you next week. Thanks for joining me in the 5% Club today. If you're ready to work less, make more, and design a life you love, go to ShaylaKing.com to join the 5% Club waitlist. Each Monday, I'll send you something you can implement immediately, and you'll be the first to know when applications open for the Performance and Happiness Lab, my group training program designed to accelerate you into a happy, confident executive who loves their whole life. See you there.